So that's the reason why we invited you, is because what you're doing is, we have this section of our show is called Follow Your Bliss. And I know you're very passionate about what you do, and through that you're inspiring others to do the same. So why don't you tell me a little bit about your company and what you're passionate about and what you do?
Well, what I do now is I run a company, I own the company that helps schools and youth organizations raise money for their various activities, for their projects, for their trips, for their uniforms, whatever it might be. And I've been doing that for a number of years. But how I got into this business was actually following my passion from high school. And I often make a speech in front of high school students today in my business of promoting fundraising. I tell high school students that someday they're going to make a decision that will affect the rest of their life. And they don't know when that's going to happen. And I made a decision as a 10th grader in high school to join the high school band.
How did that come about?
I was sitting in homeroom waiting for my next class, and all of a sudden the high school band director comes on and says, "We need somebody to volunteer to play the tuba."
The tuba.
So, not being particularly motivated to go to my second period class because it was English and I wasn't prepared, I went and talked to the band director and decided to join the band and learn to play the tuba. And that decision that I made that day as a 10th grader in high school affected the rest of my life.
Wow.
Because I became passionate about music. And I learned to play the tuba very well. And by the time I got to be a senior in high school, I was very interested in music and decided to pursue a career in music by going to college and majoring in music. And 4 years later, they gave me a piece of paper that said I could teach music anywhere in the country. Okay. And I took a job as a high school band director. And in a small town in Mississippi where there were 13 students in the high school band.
So you basically found something that thrilled you.
I enjoyed it. It was something that I was really, to use your words, passionate about. Mm-hmm. I felt and found a lot of joy in performing and creating and affecting the lives of young students, even though fresh out of college I wasn't that much older than some of the students I was teaching. But we had a lot of success. And not necessarily because of me. I think it was because I took a concept into a remote town in Mississippi and taught students to believe in themselves. And they saw that I believed in myself and what we were trying to accomplish, and they began to believe in their own creative abilities and began to feel good about what they were doing.
So as you were following your heart and your passion and your bliss, and you were believing in yourself, you were an example to them, and you also, because you saw them as successful, they saw it mirrored through your eyes, which helped to uplift them as well.
Exactly.
So basically, I think that that is a wonderful thing, because that's what it's all about, in my opinion, is that I believe from the very core we're all uplifters, and that's why it feels so good to go towards what you want and also have that influence, if you will. Not everybody will follow that influence. I'm sure you've had students that perhaps didn't really believe in themselves and weren't ready, but you never know if you planted that seed at that time. So you've already won if you're doing what you love anyway.
Oh, absolutely, because just the other day I got a message from a former student on Facebook who was a student for maybe a month, yeah. And she said that I intimidated her.
Intimidate you?
So, you know, it's interesting that, you know, some of the students got it and some of the students didn't, and some of those students actually got it like her later in life.
Mm-hmm. So your readiness needs to be there, and it's all good, and yet you planted that seed, and then she came back and told you intimidated her. But how did that end? What is she doing now?
But it made her think, and she's very successful now. And those students that got it are extremely successful. Of the group of students that I had that many years ago, several of them are high school educators. One is even a college band director with a doctorate in music education. So I feel like I had a good influence on a group of students that many years ago that have continued and have created other students. And it's a story of any teacher that's passionate about what they do. You take any teacher in this country, whether they're college, high school, elementary, middle school, coaches, you look at the successful sports programs around the country, it all happens because they believe in what they're doing.
You know, and what I think is unique about your business is it sounds like it looks like you're an uplifter from the very core, because not only your business is also helping to empower children to fund financially through fundraising ways to empower themselves through going towards what they want. Because I was in the French club when I was in high school, and I sold those boxes of candy. And again, that basically enabled me to go to Victoria every year when I lived in Washington as a high school student. And so tell me a little bit about that, because I'm sure that most underprivileged children may not have had the funds to be able to go towards what they want without these fundraising programs. Is that correct?
Well, that's exactly true. And you look at the way education is funded today. I mean, there's all kinds of problems with funding for any of the various programs. Mainly what I help schools produce is funding for their extracurricular programs and activities that are not funded through normal budgetary processes, like if it's the high school band, if it's the high school vocal department, even high school athletics. And you get into the middle schools, you've got you know, field trips and all kinds of needs from different various clubs and organizations. And sometimes I get down to the elementary level and they're raising money for books for their library, they're raising money for playground equipment, they're raising money for just an assembly to come to their school. So it's all about the extra bonus stuff that makes the educational process a little more fun, a little more interesting.
So basically, I think what you're doing is really wonderful, because you're coming from a place of abundance. You're not making money off of somebody's lack or off of somebody's sorrows. You're basically, it's all about upliftment. And I think that's what's most exciting, and that's why we were just so excited to have you on our show, because I really feel that what you're doing is serving so many, and through your, not only your own example, but through your work. You're doing some wonderful things to help people go towards their passion and their bliss. And we're going to go ahead and take a commercial break, and we'll be back in a little bit. So stay tuned.